Ladies and gentlemen, some of you might be thinking, why should I let go? Why should I trust something beyond myself when I've been doing it all on my own for so long? Here's why. Because that weight you're carrying is not yours alone to bear. That battle you're fighting, it's not meant to be fought by you alone. There is a power greater than you and I that's ready to take some of that load if we just open our hands and give it over. When we let go and let God, we're not surrendering because we've lost, we're surrendering because we know there's a better way forward. Think of it like this: you've been driving this vehicle we call life, hands white-knuckled on the wheel, eyes darting left and right, worried about every little bump, every turn. But what if you let God sit in that driver's seat? What if you allowed faith to steer you where you need to go, instead of clinging to every decision and outcome? Letting go doesn't mean we're helpless. It doesn't mean we sit back, do nothing, and hope for the best. Letting go and letting God is about action, but it's action with a purpose. It's moving forward with confidence, trusting that there's a reason for everything we face, even when we can't see it, even when we don't understand. Some of you are still carrying pain from things that happened years ago. Some of you are worrying about things that haven't even happened yet, but living like that, it's like running a race while dragging a 100-pound weight behind you. Tonight I'm asking you, are you ready to set that weight down? Are you ready to trust that there's a greater plan for you than what you can see? I want to leave you with this: life will throw storms your way, storms that will shake you, bend you, and at times even break you. But if you can let go and let God, you'll find that what was meant to tear you down will only strengthen you. What was meant to hold you back will lift you higher. When you let go, God steps in, and that's when the real transformation begins. Tonight, I'm challenging you. Challenge yourself. Let go of whatever's been keeping you up at night. Release what's been weighing down your soul. And watch what happens when you finally let God. The power of release is something many of us underestimate. We walk through life carrying burdens we were never meant to bear alone, thinking if we hold on just a little tighter, push just a little harder, everything will turn out right. But what we don't realize is that sometimes the act of holding on is what's keeping us from moving forward. When we release control, we're not giving up or backing down, we're stepping into a freedom we didn't know was possible. Letting go doesn't mean we're abandoning responsibility or walking away from our goals. It means we're acknowledging that we don't have to do it all by ourselves. It's realizing that there's a greater force at work, one that can see what we can't, and that has our best interests at heart. This kind of release doesn't make us weaker, it makes us stronger. It's about freeing ourselves from the constant anxiety of trying to predict every outcome, from the pressure of having to make everything perfect. The power of release lies in trusting that even if we can't see what's next, there's a path forward. When we let go, we open ourselves to possibilities beyond what we could have imagined, to solutions and answers that might never have appeared otherwise. It's about finding peace in the knowledge that we're not alone, and that sometimes the greatest strength we can show is knowing when to let go. Overcoming obstacles isn't just about pushing harder or fighting longer. Sometimes the secret lies in letting go. We all face struggles that seem insurmountable, situations where every effort feels like it's getting us nowhere. In those moments, our instinct is often to double down, to push through by sheer force. But what if instead we paused, took a step back, and allowed ourselves to let go? This doesn't mean surrendering in defeat. It means loosening our grip on the way we think things must be and opening up to how they could be. When we let go, we make space for new perspectives, fresh ideas, and a renewed sense of resilience. We begin to see obstacles not as impenetrable walls, but as challenges we can navigate with a different approach. Sometimes the very act of letting go is what enables us to see a way around the issue, a solution we couldn't grasp when we were so tightly wound up in control. Obstacles are often life's way of urging us to rethink, to trust, and to allow something greater to guide us. Letting go empowers us to stop wrestling with the impossible and instead to let ourselves be guided to where we're truly meant to be. It's in these moments of surrender that we tap into strength we didn't know we had, a resilience that allows us to overcome not just this obstacle, but anything that comes our way. Trusting in a greater plan can be one of the hardest yet most freeing things we'll ever do. Life is full of uncertainties, twists, and turns that we can't always predict or control. And in the face of that, it's natural to feel the urge to map out every single step. But sometimes trying to control every detail only limits our potential. Trusting in a greater plan means accepting that there's a purpose for everything, even when we can't immediately see it. It means believing that our journey has a meaning beyond what's visible, and that each moment, whether it brings joy, struggle, or growth, is leading us somewhere valuable. This kind of trust requires a deep level of faith, a willingness to believe in something beyond ourselves, something we can't always quantify or rationalize. It's like following a road at night where you can only see as far as the headlights reach, yet knowing that each step will reveal a little more of the path. Trusting in a greater plan doesn't mean abandoning our dreams or our goals. It means pursuing them with an openness to whatever direction life takes us, knowing that setbacks might actually be setups for something greater down the line. In those moments when we release our tight grip on the need to know everything, we allow ourselves to be led, to be guided by something bigger than our own understanding. And it's in that surrender that we often find ourselves exactly where we're meant to be, embracing opportunities, insights, and strengths we might have missed if we were too focused on controlling the plan ourselves. Understanding the limitations of self-control is essential if we want to live fully and freely. We're often taught that success comes from self-discipline, from setting goals and sticking to them no matter what. And while discipline is important, sometimes our drive for control can keep us locked in a cycle of stress and frustration. We push ourselves to manage every detail, every outcome, believing that if we just try hard enough, we can make life fit perfectly into our plans. But life doesn't always work that way, and sometimes this obsession with control can actually prevent us from experiencing growth and healing. When we constantly rely on our own strength, we cut ourselves off from other sources of support, from the wisdom that comes from letting go and from the grace that comes when we admit we don't have all the answers. There are times when our need to control blocks us from seeing alternative paths, from taking chances that might bring unexpected blessings. Self-control has its place, but it's not meant to be our only approach. Sometimes we need to step back and recognize our limitations, to understand that there are forces at work beyond what we can see or influence. By loosening our grip, we allow life to flow more naturally, opening ourselves to guidance and insight that can only come when we're not trying to micromanage every aspect. Accepting the limits of self-control doesn't make us powerless, it makes us wiser, helping us to focus our energy on what truly matters and leaving room for the unknown to unfold. In that space, we often find a deeper sense of peace and a more profound sense of purpose. Surrender and strength may seem like opposites, but in reality, surrender can be one of the strongest things we ever do. It takes courage to admit that we don't have all the answers, that we can't handle every challenge on our own. Society often equates strength with independence and self-reliance, with the idea that we should be able to push through any obstacle without help. But true strength isn't about carrying every burden ourselves, it's about knowing when to lay that burden down and trust that we're not meant to do it all alone. Surrender doesn't mean giving up, it means choosing to let go of the constant struggle, the need to control every outcome. It's saying, I trust that there's something greater at work, something that knows the way even when I can't see it.
This kind of surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom.
It's the realization that strength sometimes comes from stepping back, from allowing life to unfold, rather than forcing it into the shape we think it should take. In surrendering, we gain a new kind of strength, a strength rooted in trust and resilience, and the understanding that we're part of something larger than ourselves. When we embrace surrender, we open up space within ourselves, a place where peace can replace anxiety, where hope can replace fear. In this state of surrender that we find the strength to face anything life brings our way, knowing we're supported by a power greater than ourselves, a power that guides us when we let go and trust. Faith in action is more than belief, it's belief turned into movement, into steps taken even when the path ahead isn't fully visible. Trusting in a higher plan requires more than just waiting for things to fall into place. It means actively pursuing our goals with a spirit of faith, confident that each action is guided by a purpose beyond what we can see. Faith in action doesn't just sit on the sidelines hoping for the best, it dives in, willing to do the work, willing to face challenges, all while trusting that every effort is part of something bigger. When we put faith into action, we're saying, I trust that my journey has meaning. Even if I don't have all the answers, we stop holding back, waiting for the perfect conditions or the clearest signs. Instead, we step forward, understanding that each move we make brings us closer to where we're meant to be. Sometimes we won't know the significance of our steps until we've taken them. But that's the beauty of faith. It's a commitment to progress without the demand for certainty. Faith in action also means resilience. It means staying committed even when setbacks arise, knowing they are not the end, but a necessary part of the process. When we let our faith propel us, we move with a kind of courage that doesn't need immediate results to feel validated. We act with purpose, believing that every effort, every leap brings us closer to the life we're meant to live, unfolding in ways beyond what we could plan or predict.